Hello. Hello and good morning. Good morning, Syl. How are you?
Yeah, well, good morning, Beena. Good morning. Just happy, happy to be here, Beena. Happy.
Yes.
Now
How
we're
are you?
doing a test. We're doing a test today, so I better go and check and see everything is testing the way
Yes.
it's supposed.
Yes.
How are you, Beena? How are
Yes.
you? How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Feeling a bit relaxed. Yes. Like last 2, 3 days were quite of mood of like more introvert. Like okay, the communication was more internal than external. I was trying to, but whenever I have so far, my experience is whenever we try to push our communication when it is demanding to be internal rather than external communication with others, it always pushes out a bit with a bit more force or like a bit of effort, and it is not very smooth or nice. This is what I've been through. Today, I'm feeling much relaxed
When we
now.
do what? Sorry, say again. When we do what?
When our internal system or our heart or mind is more interested in doing internal communication rather than external or externally communicating with others, like internally communication with yourself, and we try to push, of course, force of circumstance. Sometimes it is our duty, sometimes it is needed, and when we try to do that, when our mind is not willing to do communicate with others and that they're more interested in communicating with ourselves. In those timing when we try to push, of course, for some reason, the communication was is not very smooth. Sometimes it is because you are doing it by force, and that forcefulness projects in your communication in some or the other way. Not necessarily negative, but my experience is that it comes out in a different way than usual. And this is what was happening with me in last 2, 3 days because my mind was getting more into internal dialogue and internally communicating with Beena time with Beena that was needed, and and I was trying to do that, but of course my routine and my things were not allowing me to do. Just being sitting quiet, not doing anything at all is for me is a pure luxury sometimes that you just want to spend without having any guilt also, because mostly when we do that it's a guilt there that, oh yes, I wasted my time, oh I could sleep, oh I could do this, I could do that, and then there are so many things pending and all that. But if you can really have your time without having anything in your as agenda uh, on table with while communicating with yourself, it's a pure luxury. It's a
Yeah.
pure luxury because every single time after that, I feel so refreshed. I feel so creative. I feel so happy also. So this is something I'm just looking for.
Ah,
Sometimes giving yourself a bit extra, like, okay, things are not needed, but you do it for yourself. Um, some gestures are not needed, but you do it for yourself. So the crux of all these things, what I'm trying to say is giving yourself a gift of bonus every now and then is really a bounty for your soul. Really.
it's a bounty for your
Soul.
for your soul. Yes.
Yes. Yes. So the moreness gift is the most precious gift because
Now,
moreness in every sense, like okay, yes, you need and you can have only an hour for yourself with yourself, but you just give 1.5 hour. That is moreness, more time for that. Yes, you don't need to do something for yourself, like okay, you don't need to have a coffee right there, but right now I want, okay, a bit extra here. Okay, I just want to spend more time with myself. I just want to gift myself a bit of something, like okay, buying a book or anything, whatever you want to, or doing something for yourself without having any agenda, without having any attachments connected to that, that okay, oh, it is beneficial for me or not, it is good for, no nonsense. Just pure moreness for the sake of moreness. This is the ultimate gift.
Yeah. Wonderful.
And this is what I'm trying to practice nowadays.
Let me ask you something,
Yes?
please. Now, when you communicate with yourself,
Yes.
do you do it in words and thoughts, or in
Okay. This is interesting because before I was trying to do it in my thoughts, and that was very complicated. It was not happening. It was not happening at all. So that's why I just started something that, okay, whenever, it's not fixed time or it's not fixed date or anything, but just whenever I feel that, okay, I need, I just make coffee or a tea for myself and just sit quiet there, do nothing, and say
but
that,
when you
okay,
look at oh,
I
okay,
am, yes.
okay, sorry, Karen.
I was just saying, okay, this time I'm just sitting with Beena for Beena, no one else. That's it. And I just say that out loud in like, okay, in words, because in thoughts it was not working for me. No.
Yeah. Hello, Norma. Hello, Norma, and
Hello,
hello,
Norma.
Lisa as well. Oh,
Oh, hello, Shil.
that's the other day. I was on the wrong line. On the comment, I was on the old one. Anyway, hello Norma, hello Lisa, hello everybody. If you're here, I can't see. I can't see if anybody's here. But if you are here, hello everybody. Wonderful, wonderful. And let's get right into reading. Let's get right into reading. This is too brilliant. All right, all right. All set up here. I am nearly all set up. There we go. Just, sometimes things take a little slower than one. But we get there. We get there. We get there.
Now you are in the right live comment section.
Yes. I see it on the restream. So everything is working right. I show chat too. Oh, that was from earlier. Yeah, no, everything is right. Everything is good. Everything is good. Share
Good.
screen. Yeah, there we go. And see, this is, I love this art. This is just brilliant. Yeah, yeah. I mean, especially when you see what it represents, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. I never noticed this before until now, but the fallout, you see? You know what I mean? Fallout?
Yes.
You see?
Yes.
And when you see
Yes.
what it's about, then it makes total sense. Yeah?
Ah.
Convolution of cool. Why is it that people are by
Ah.
nature so enthralled with a conspiracy theory? All right. Well, I'll let you read, Bina. But now you see when you this
Ah.
enthralled with conspiracy theory, now all of this enthrallment, all getting involved, and you see, I love this space in here, and then this one too, right?
Yeah, the scream face. Yes.
Yeah, it's just so perfect for getting involved with conspiracy theories. Now, before we get going, I want to just mention one thing. Yes, not all conspiracy theories are bogus. Just because people get involved and they get carried away and they get consumed in it, doesn't necessarily mean that what they are consuming is nonsense. In the past, there have been conspiracy theories which turned out to be true. I forget the exact case, but there's one very noticeable case. This was quite a long time ago now, where this guy was speaking for years about this, right? And he was on TV and he was, people kind of made fun of him and all this stuff. It turned out it was really true. Yeah, it was a government conspiracy theory, and it was cover up and stuff like that. But it did turn out to be true. So, all right, is it the usual conspiracy theory the way they are today? Not so much, but uh, but still, it did turn out to be true, right? So I'm just saying we must keep this in mind. Does that mean that people don't have uh, completely convoluted thinking? This guy had actual facts to back up what he said, but nobody wanted to believe the facts, right? Or at least, he was pointing in the direction where the facts needed to be. So he knew, but he couldn't necessarily prove it, etc. I'm just making a point that we have to be careful and we have to be very discerning when it comes to this. And again, if I remember what Biella says here, it's going about the psychology that's involved, because that's the question, right? It's not whether or not the conspiracy theories are true, it's why are they still involved with it. That's a different question, yes? All right, all right. Will you read, please, Beena? Will you read, please, Beena?
Sorry, I
Did
was
you?
muted. Yes, I did.
Well, so maybe Beena.
Convolutions of cool.
Sorry, start.
Convolutions of cool. Why is it that people are by nature so enthralled with a conspiracy theory? What about them makes them so alluring? Dear Patrick, conspiracy theories are part of a particular cool. Conspiracy theories have been pushed so much to the forefront, and so many accept them because some are very cleverly constructed, manipulating truth and belief in such a way that they appear logical and reasonable. This gives them great appeal, for they legitimize the cockeyed. This
The
is the
stuff
word?
beliefs.
Yes? Yeah.
Cockeyed. Yeah, like a chicken. You know, they have the eyes on either side. The male chicken is called the cock, right? And the cock crowed, in other words. And cockeyed
Okay.
means that you're looking at things, like their eyes go kind of one way and the other. It's all squiffy. Squiffy eyed. You can say squiffy eyed if you want.
Oh, okay. So this is not derogatory or slang or something, yes?
No, no, it's a very legitimate word. Yeah, not slang or anything. Yeah.
Okay.
It
Okay.
literally means
Okay.
like the
For they
eyes of a
legitimize
cock. Yeah, yeah.
okay. For they legitimize the cockeyed beliefs. Uh, okay. Thoughts and wishful thinking of the individuals. Oh, I need to read this again. Sorry. This
Yeah.
gives them great appeal, for they legitimize the cockeyed beliefs, thoughts, and wishful thinking of the individual. Besides the cool component, conspiracy theories appeals to the ego narcissist BSs, even those in whom is mild. This is mild, as it enables their BS. They believe associating themselves with such theories and pushing them makes them look clever and in the know. It's part of an
Yeah.
overall mindset of little or no effort when it comes to thinking, part of the desire to not look stupid. By engaging in meaningful, thoughtful, discerning, careful, and rigorous discussions, such as one finds here or hopes to, of course, the irony involved in these attempts to bypass sensible thoughtfulness to avoid bruising their ego is astonishing. But so powerful is the ego's capacity to BS. Wow.
I mean, it's amazing, this what Biel is saying here. That the enamorment, right, the alluringness of it. It's not. I mean, those that really get involved in it, at least from what I take what Biel is saying here, it's not so much that this is interesting stuff and it's about. No, they do it for the ego value rather than the interest value. Yes. I mean, there are some conspiracy theories which are marvelously interesting, and if you look at them, there's a lot of legitimacy to it, especially when it comes to businesses being, like Monsanto. Monsanto was a conspiracy theory for a long time until they got taken to court and proven, and likewise the tobacco industry, and asbestos. Who remembers when asbestos was a conspiracy theory? Very few people. And that was my point earlier, right? We have to be careful between what is a conspiracy theory and what is somebody pointing the finger at nefarious behavior, yes, or illegitimate or crooked behavior. There's kind of a difference, right? Many of the conspiracy theories, they start to get really wild and involve all sorts of stuff, and they don't really have a logical consistency. when people said Monsanto is making a poison, well, duh, that was kind of
Yeah.
obvious. You go and spray the weed killer, and your nose tells you it's like horrible stuff, right? Okay, it kills the weeds, but it was obviously a poison. I mean, yes, how much that poison was doing damage besides to the weeds, that was a different issue. That's a scientific issue. But there wasn't anything implausible about what that conspiracy theory was saying. It wasn't even really a conspiracy theory. People just pointing out the obvious, that regulation needed to change. And the laws didn't change, but the lawsuit got it, right? And just to add on to that, we live in a different world to pre-base. I mean, going back 30, 40 years even. Yeah. Back then, class action lawsuits weren't really a thing. Erin Brockovich, right? She really started this, or at least made it popular when she took on the power companies and their power lines for causing cancer in the children, right? You probably saw the movie Erin
Yes.
Brockovich, right? But I'm just
Yes.
saying, when she started this, they just small little firm, and she was kind of a nobody, and she got this bee in her bonnet and really pursued this and took down these big companies who had lots of money, could hire expensive lawyers and all that. But as a result of that, something really profound happened. In the legal system, the lawyers started to say, well, hey, wait a second, here's big money to be made. And at the time of Erin Brockovich, if my timing is correct, people had tried to sue the tobacco companies and failed many times. Tobacco companies had gotten away with it. But then, as a result of Erin Brockovich, or at least she may not be directly responsible, but more or less in that time, uh, the class action lawsuits became a thing. And they became a part of legal practice, became class action lawsuit. And now there's a class action lawsuit industry within the legal community. And this is very, very cool. All right. Yes, sometimes, they may go a little bit too far. But the result of this is that companies like Monsanto, which got away with basically abusing the legal system, or right, and the laws may not have been accurate enough to catch them, right? They couldn't, but they were proven to be doing things that are harmful, regardless of whatever the law says. And this is fantastic. So this class action lawsuit, you can look at many, many cases in which they are successful. Asbestos and all sorts of stuff, right? And tobacco and in the power, all the stuff. It is really brilliant. Why? Because now you as a individual, whether you got money or not, doesn't matter, right? If there's a class action involved, and a class action means it's a lawsuit on behalf of a class of people, a group of people, right? All those affected by it, which is multiple people. So the payouts in the legal system, right? Because it's affecting a large class of people, sometimes millions. The payouts are huge. The asbestos industry, they advertising, right? I see these advertisements regularly. They say if you are affected by asbestos or somebody in your family was, even if they may have died already, you can still get a payout. They got 30 billion, 30 billion in payouts. Yeah, that's waiting. That they haven't allocated to the people yet. It's just sitting in a bank account somewhere, and people haven't collected on it. Right? Isn't that
Yeah.
amazing? Right.
Yes.
So the class action is dealing with huge, huge money, and of course the lawyers are making money out of this too. But what it's doing though, it has created a very, very real and powerful balance in the world, which wasn't there before. In our
Mhm.
modern age, companies became very powerful and did get away with nefarious skullduggery of all kinds for a long time. Well, not relatively not that long, but longer than they would have been until the class action laws came about. And again, whenever you are interested in a conspiracy theory, right? Almost all conspiracy theories at least everyone I know of, involves a class of people. Yeah. And especially when they're talking about illegality and manipulation and all this. But man, if there was a case here, the class action lawsuit guys would be on it. So this is really cool because in the past that wasn't the case. You trust the system, you trust the government, but no, that they failed us, the government and the system. But the class action lawsuit has now balanced the system. Fantastic. Really, really cool. Right? Just something by the way, and something to pay attention to. So if you have any doubts about something, go and see if there's a class action lawsuit involved. Yes. And if not, if you, let's say you're working in a company and you start to see stuff wrong, right? Then you can bring a class action lawsuit and you don't need any money to do this. If you have a case, the lawyers will take it on, no problem. Also, as a consequence of these class action lawsuits, you've got the whistleblower laws, which were never there before. In other words, if you're the guy blowing the whistle on things that aren't right, that shouldn't be there, you are protected under the law. That protection was never there before. Yeah. So it's a
Yes.
consequence of the class action law. Now I'm just saying, our world, we tend to think the world is a horrible place and it's not getting better. No, it's getting better, not worse. Yeah. Two things. Class action lawsuits, whistleblower laws. They are very powerful and they make a big difference. Yeah? Make sense? Beena?
Yes. Yes.
All right. All right. Let's continue reading.
Yes. Out of depth. The psychologies which love them are given to shallow thinking, to biases and misbeliefs, and to believing their thoughts and ideas are just wonderful. This connects with the conspiracy theories, but the very nature of conspiracy theories is that they are difficult to prove or disprove, just as these mindsets like matters to be. They wish the very same for their internal landscape. It's classic philosophy of opposite. As in, look, you can't tell me this is untrue for sure. You can't prove it's nonsense. The very same, of course, applies to their inner world. The very focus they push reveals the opposite about them. The internet
Yeah.
has
In
led
other words, you can't prove I'm shallow. You can't prove I'm egotistical. You can't prove I overestimate myself. You can't prove that I'm not as wonderful as I'm making out that I am. Yeah, see?
yeah,
See the connection being?
yes.
The
The
allure.
in-
That was the question. Why are they so alluring? Yeah.
ah, yes, yes.
Yeah.
Hmm. The internet has led to the unprecedented self-awareness, but sadly not as an addition to self, but in terms of revealing just how ludicrous and ill-formed
Ludicrous.
this ludicrous and ill-formed the self for most really is. The illusory bubble of self-belief is mistaken wonderfulness, smartness, togetherness,
I
and
read
much
that again,
else has.
you know?
Okay, the illusory bubble of self-belief in mistaken wonderfulness, smartness, togetherness, and much else has been rudely popped. The world has discovered what the wise of the ages have been saying forever. You are actually unincapable, deluded by yourself. But now there is ample proof to
So,
substantiate.
to so substantiate.
Okay, so
Ah, This,
substantiate.
this is a big deal, Bina. If we go
Yes,
back in history, right? You were
yes,
a self-deluded nincompoop. You went
yes,
around in your village and
yes,
everybody, okay, there goes X, and X is just fine. He's in his own bubble and he's silly and foolish, etc. Right? But
yes,
that was just an opinion. And because
yes,
people live in a small community, yes, they might say it directly to X, and but on the other hand, they might not because X might be a good bully, a good BSer, and all right, how do you really prove this? But online, forums, debates, and comments. People say, yes, look on this, and here we go, here's the proof, whatever, and they lay it out. And because of the ability to say the awful truth anonymously, yes, much has come out which people otherwise would never hear, like in that village, right? You got to live with these people and you got to live with their family. How do you say the awful truth that you're a raging narcissist egomaniac? It's hard, right? So you just basically keep
Yes.
peace, and yes, everybody knows it, and they might talk about it behind their backs, but it doesn't come out. For the individual, the community knows, and they may say it and talk about it to each other, but the individual doesn't have that because nobody has the courage or the gumption or just doesn't want to bother to say it to them. But online, there are people who do bother to say to them. Now, some of them are trolls just looking to get a rise out of people. But nonetheless, some of those trolls, right, their intent is to get you mad and angry. And of course, if they have an awful truth with which to make you mad and angry, and in that way prove that they have power over you, which is the agenda of the troll, superiority, but if they can use an awful truth, so much the better than them BSing in turn, right? I mean, if they can push your buttons with the truth, well, look, I'm not BSing. I'm just pointing out the truth. It doesn't matter that their agenda is one of dominance and superiority. They are actually doing something which is quite valuable. They're proving to these individuals that they're full of it, right? And some of those narcissists kind of end up believing their own BS, right, and their own nonsense that they talk. But now, with the internet, it's like, oh, well, okay, I really am full of it. Yes, and
Yes.
that's a big shift. It's a big shift in our culture from what has historically always been the case. Yes, it's been very difficult for people to hear the awful truth because nobody really wanted to hear it. But online, not a problem. Now, please keep going, Angel. Make sense, Beena? I'm saying?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
hang on.
Yes.
Almost, yeah. Brilliant. That's
Hello,
okay.
Norma.
Hey, Norma, that's okay. We're always happy when you come, whenever that brilliant. I'm glad to hear, Norma. Glad to hear. Very cool. Please keep going.
Okay. Discussions, forums, arguments,
No, the
Twitter.
internet. Oh, we do.
Oh,
No. You're right. Yeah.
okay. Discussions, forums, arguments, Twitter storms, articles, posts, etc. All of these go into detail when it comes to exposing foolishness. And the best come to the fore, those which expose the idiocy the most. Of course, the motivations are to embarrass, mock, and similar. But the educational effect is severe and profound. The consequence of this is the ego is left fleeing desperate for refuge. A
Refuge.
heaven has been found. For refuge, yes?
No, refuge.
Refuge, okay.
First syllable.
A heaven, okay. Refuge. Heaven has been found in conspiracy theories
A
and those
haven.
who push. A haven has been found. A haven has been
And
found
not a
in
heaven, a
conspiracy.
haven. It's a different word. Yeah.
Yes, yes. A haven has been found in conspiracy theories and those who push them, as well as those who espouse blatant rubbish, nonsense, and distorted thinking and beliefs. All of these bolster and support the crushed ego, re-empowering it.
Right.
Wow.
Right. I mean, that last paragraph really spells out what's happened. Right. A lot of these people have come on.
Yeah.
I'm wonderful. And even if you are wonderful, well, you know what? Facebook is full of wonderful people. You're not exceptional anymore. Yes, you're wonderful, but you're just one of many wonderful people, right?
Huh.
Now you become non-exceptional, which for the superiority paradigm mindset also means inconsequential. It's not really true, but that's the logic. Yeah? And as a result, they need to now again be exceptional in some way. Can't handle the awful truth. Is that amazing, Beena? Yeah.
Yes.
I mean,
Unreasonable.
yeah, it's a very powerful paragraph, that last one there. That I think maybe read it again.
Okay.
discussions?
Discussions, forums, arguments, Twitter storms, articles, posts, etc. All of these go into detail when it comes to exposing foolishness. And the best come to the fore, those which expose the idiocy the most. Of course, the motivations are to embarrass, mock, and similar, but the educational effect is severe and profound. The consequence of this is the ego is left fleeing, desperate for a heaven has been found in conspiracy theories and those who push them, as well as those who espouse blatant rubbish, nonsense, and distorted thinking and beliefs. All of these bolster and support the crushed ego,
Yeah,
re-empowering it.
right. Rush Limbaugh, Rush Limbaugh is, right?
No.
Oh, Rush Limbaugh is or was, he died very recently, but
Mhm.
he was a conservative talk radio host, right? Just talking about all sorts of stuff, and not
Okay.
necessarily conspiracy theories, but he pushed uh, just a very negative, attackative talk radio, and he was kind of the first to really do this and go really huge. And he was huge for a long time. He was very, very instrumental in conservative politics. If Rush Limbaugh didn't like it, you could forget about it. But he would go to
Oh,
extremes, and he'd be very denigrating and very rude, and say the opposing party people are idiots and rubbish, and he would also make up a lot of stuff, right? And when
uh-huh.
I first heard Rush Limbaugh way back when, I thought he was a satirist because what he was
Oh,
saying was so outrageous and so ludicrous that I thought this guy is just he's taking the Mickey out of he's teasing the people that he's his audience. He's like basically making fools of them. And I thought because he's saying such stupid stuff, but people would believe him. And this outrageousness, it's how people think internally. And he voiced their internal thoughts, which is why he was so popular. It doesn't matter whether he was rational or sensible or logical. No, right? And what mattered was that he was saying what people inside think. Yes, and now it's legitimate. It's on radio. Rush Limbaugh is a huge force. It's actually well worth. If somebody's looking at like political history, not just political history, but also cultural development, he is a cultural force and a big change in things. And he led to a whole industry of shock jocks, right? Uh, um, Howard Stern also is part of that, except Howard Stern did it more in not necessarily political stuff. He's become more political more recently. But when he started, he would just say anything that would get your attention and shock you and stuff like this, right? Um, yeah. Yeah, I don't know if Norma says no, do I know him? I don't think Rush Limbaugh was anything at all outside of America. Definitely not. No, I mean, if you anybody who's got half a brain listening to Rush Limbaugh, you'll hear internal contradictions. And it's like, yeah, come on, And after a while, you can't take him seriously once you realize that his agenda is just BS. But what I'm trying to say is that Rush Limbaugh led to a whole industry of this type of talk radio and people saying outrageous stuff. Don Imus came up with him, but now more recently Alex Jones, and Alex Jones was taken to court and got like almost $1 billion settlement because he said that one of the school shootings. Um, I forget the name of it now, one of the very first school shootings in which very young, or first big one that really got people's attention. There were others before that, wasn't the first one. Is it Sandy Brook? I forget the name of it now. It's on the tip of my tongue. Anyway, so Alex Jones for years said this is a hoax and it's all constructed. And the parents and these were young children, right? Like first and second or third graders. I forget the exact ages, but they were very young children and that were killed. Yes. And he said, this is just a hoax. It's rubbish. It's nonsense. Why on earth he would want to make a case for this to be a hoax? I don't know. But, it got him a lot of listeners. And he made tons of money out of pushing all of these conspiracy theories. Now, there is a really good example of an absolutely absurd conspiracy theory, right? To say the school shooting is a hoax that's put up, and the parents took him to court, and they got one of the, I think it's the biggest individual settlement, like almost $1 billion for all the different families, right? I mean, it's kind of a class action, but it's a very small class action, just the parents of those children that were killed. But and now he can't say it anymore, of course, right? But there's so many other things, and I don't even know if he's still on the air or not. But still, it's astonishing, this whole industry, and people are making money out of it, like Alex Jones, yes, Rush Limbaugh. They made money out of pushing these conspiracy theories because people would listen to them because it's stuff that they want to hear. You know? And again, just because people want to hear nonsense, uh, why would people want to hear nonsense? Because they aren't particularly impeccable inside, don't particularly have good morals and ethics, and they believe stuff that is immoral and unethical because it's personally beneficial and it makes them feel better and all of this stuff, right? And here's the thing, take that conspiracy theories. There's kind of a logic to it in a really peculiar way. All of these school shootings, they involve you know automatic weapons, which you can buy. They used to be illegal, but they've got changed the law. It's a whole complicated nonsense. But now it's really poor logic. I want my automatic weapon, and I don't want it to be true that people are abusing this, right? They're going and shooting up kids in school, even though mostly it's young men that are doing this. Doesn't matter. It's using the weapon that I have, and I want to have my weapon because I'm insecure and I want this most powerful weapon, makes me feel powerful, etc., etc. And so, if it turns out that Alex Jones is true and all these school shootings are hoaxes, well, now I can feel better, not just about owning my own gun, but I can also feel better about living in a society that's not messed up where school shootings happen. It's an American phenomenon, this thing of school shootings. You see how the logic goes, Beena. People associate
Yes.
things, even in a small way, they associate it. I see this with history, that the same conservative mindset has said you can't teach history which makes people look bad. Like you can't teach history in which there were massacres of the Native Americans. But that was my ancestors, but they associate with it. Yeah? And so they don't want to talk
Yes.
because it makes them look bad by association because it's their ancestors. The absurdity of it is ridiculous. It's not you we're talking about, it's your ancestors. But see, they have a similar mindset, and if the situation was the same today, they would be doing that as well. So we have to really realize that, all of this in our modern age has uh, the exposure of this rottenness of psychology in a group of people. It's a fairly large group of people, unfortunately. And it's always been in our culture. You've kind of had sensible, good people, and then you've had people who abuse and take, and those who are really into that superiority mindset, and the criminality of it is like win at all costs, take whatever you can, etc. Right? Doesn't matter. Yeah. That's always been a part of things throughout history, except it's become exposed. But now, lately, and with people like Rush Limbaugh and Alex Jones, and of course Trump as well, they are legitimizing this ridiculousness, right? By being on TV, being on radio, etc., and saying it in a way that like it's okay. Yeah, all those people now feel legitimized. Of course, it's not going to work. It's basically, to me, it's the boil of this, like a boil on your, in like a boil that, the past boil, right? That kind of boil. It's a boil in society that's been sitting there all this time, and now it's really coming to fruition, and it's starting to burst, and you see the pus coming up now, which is needed for society to heal from this, right? You're getting this sort of little period now where the desperation to say, well, I haven't been wrong, I haven't been full of nonsense, and it's being legitimized by people like Trump and Alex Jones. But of course, it can't last, right? Because it's just bogus nonsense. But in our day and age, where things get exposed and then they get shown to be nonsense, shown to be nonsense. People that have been abusing, the general population and been distorting and manipulating and lying to them. They've been around forever. Just look at the Romans, right? They knew all about populism, right? They understood this and how to exploit the masses. And the Greeks too. It's why the Greeks weren't particularly fond of democracy, even though they had it to a certain extent, from very limited democracy, but still, because they said it's mob rule and the mob is full of nonsense. But in our day and age now, with the internet and everything, yes, this stuff was given license and has been legitimized, but it's like you very young children. Like, I mean, if you take our culture in the internet age, we essentially, as a culture, we still toddlers, really. Yes, in terms of internet terms, even though it's been around now for a little while, but still, in a historical term, we're still toddlers. And you see this mindset coming out very much. Yes, that it's people are starting to become aware. First, they get legitimized, and then they realize, well, no, it's not so cool. Like Alex Jones, it's actual nonsense. It's going to take a lot longer, but there's actual, real, long-term cultural growth. Like the same thing in the legal industry. Stuff is moving in a positive direction. It's very, very, very cool. And if we relate this to the Council of the Gods story, right? There was that whole long extrapolation into
Yes.
the future of all of this happening and the necessity for it. So it's very cool. It's very cool. So we understand this, the allure now obviously is coming from ego. But there's another point that Biella makes here. So please keep reading, Beena. It's fascinating stuff. Fascinating stuff.
Yes.
Hello again, Norma.
Unreasonable fear. The underlying motivations is the fear of logic, reason, sensibility, thoroughness of thinking, and the like.
Wow.
These are these are just way too difficult and overwhelming. All cause this psychology to feel grossly stupid, causing the embarrass of the illogical and unreasonable under the
Causing
guise
the
of it
embrace.
yes, yes, causing the embrace,
Ah,
of the illogical and unreasonable under the guise of it seeming to be legitimate. Of course, online snobbery and inappropriate intellectualism has not helped matters either. Those advocating sensibility would be well served to pay attention to their presentations, making efforts to make the reason accessible to all.
like them. Them. This is a very powerful here. The underlying
Yes,
motivation is the fear of logic, reason, sensibility, thoroughness of thinking, and the like. You would not think so. Anybody who's got half a brain of sensibility would say, who would fear logic and reason and sensibility on thoroughness of thinking? But it is a fear. Many fear it. Why? Because if they were to engage in logic and reason and sensibility and thoroughness of thinking and similar, it would expose them, and they don't want to be exposed. Yeah, because our superiority paradigm has taught us, do not ever, ever, ever look stupid. No matter if you are stupid, but don't look stupid, don't appear stupid, don't be seen to be stupid. Yes, it's okay to be stupid, but don't be seen to be stupid. Yeah, the appearance is everything. And now this is why this fear, that people don't want to engage in discussion and conversation because they're afraid of being exposed. And this is another appeal of the conspiracy theories. You can talk about the stuff and nobody can prove that you're talking nonsense, and so you don't have to worry about it. And again, too, logic, reason, sensibility are believed. Yeah, yeah, they are believed to be way too difficult and overwhelmed. Yeah, and this causes this psychology, right? To feel, yeah, to
yes.
feel
Okay.
grossly stupid. Yeah,
Conspiracy theories also represent an escapism from the harsh realities of the world, which in this era are so intimate and so unavoidable. Bottom line, the appeal of conspiracy theories lies in their accessibility and connection to substantiating, deliberate lessness ways
right.
of being. Rubbish ways of being, an easy but sad way to feel clever.
There we go. An easy but sad way to feel clever. That's the bottom line here, right? An easy but sad way to feel clever. Look at this for all sorts of convolutions of thinking there. Lost to being lost. Wow, more from Biella. Norma says, before we continue, but if you are seen as stupid, you still don't know you are. Yeah, exactly. But here's the point. This is superiority paradigm that has taught us culturally to absolutely fear this. It's an artificial nonsense. We are all stupid compared to the universe. It's just a matter of relativity. Yes, it doesn't matter. We're all stupid. And if we let go of this comparativeness, which is why the Moreness-Paradigm, what Biella's paradigm, the paradigm of Nobelia, there's no comparison. It's idiotic to compare one to the other. It's like saying, you know what, you've got $5 and I've got 10. Ooh, I'm wealthy. Come on. Compared to, and even to say I've got $1 billion compared to all the money in the world, $1 billion is nothing. Yeah? It's really nothing compared to that. So even the most wealthy person is still relatively to what potential wealth there is. It's not particularly wealthy. Again, and that's just in a finite concept and point of view. But compared to the universe, infinity doesn't matter relatively if I'm a little bit more or less. It's irrelevant. What matters is whether you're learning or not. That's the only thing that matters. How fast you're learning doesn't matter either, as long as you do learn eventually. Doesn't matter. Sometimes some lessons come quickly, some take a long time. Doesn't matter. And that's the Moreness-Paradigm, right? It's about learning. And it's not just about learning. And again, it's about undoing these ridiculous beliefs. In the superiority paradigm, learning is stressful. Learning is a bother. It's a hassle. It's unpleasant. What? It's just complete rubbish. When you were small and young, you loved learning everything. You wanted to know how does houses work. You wanted to know. Where did that go from? Where did that desire to know and learn go to? Yes. When you were a toddler, did you care how smart or intelligent you were? No, it made that difference. You wanted to learn and know. Right? Playing was learning and growing. Playing was the joy of learning. That's what play is. We learn, we discover, we're testing, we're exploring. It's fantastic. But the superiority paradigm, which got all consumed in ego, made learning into a negative. Yeah, because it's protecting its own nonsense. Yeah, our culture comes from the worst of us, not the best. When we realize that, oh my goodness, oh my goodness. Our culture comes from the worst of us, not the best of us. I think I need to add that to my quote file. Don't you think so, Beena? I don't think I have that in there.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I added in a little bit there. So who shall I attribute this quote to, Beena? Our culture comes from the worst of us, not the best of us, and that has to change. Who do I attribute it to? Who do you think?
Like Ursula?
Ursula, okay. That's a very good choice. Yeah. Oh, it could be the young man, could be Biella, but I like it from Ursula. Very cool. But that's a really powerful quote. Our culture comes from the worst of us, not the best of us, and that has to change. And this is the Moreness-Paradigm. This is what we're doing here. This is, yes, you and I and Norma, right? This is our point, is to show there's an alternative paradigm. It's about learning to enjoy learning to have more, learning to that we can exist where there is this non-comparativeness and where it doesn't matter how stupid, intelligent, those aren't even words which are used. It's not the issue, it's not the fact. In this paradigm, no one cares. It's totally, utterly irrelevant. Yes, that's only a superiority paradigm, this premium on intelligence and this negativity and stupidity. in the Moreness-Paradigm, okay, totally irrelevant. Just enjoy learning, enjoy being. Doesn't matter. Ursula takes in all, knowing but doesn't say often. Right, because Ursula in the story has shifted to being a incredible, profound, fantastic, awesome observer. Right? I mean, when you really go back and read Ursula and Ursula's explanation, she says, I know that in the new nobility, it says that utilize your expertise and bring your expertise to the fore and share it, right? But she says, I'm not going to do that. Why? Because the temptation for me to believe that I know then becomes so great, and I may miss out on that which I don't know that I don't know. So Ursula says, I'm going to be a complete noob, a complete noob. Doesn't matter that I have sensibility and sobriety and experience of applying them. No, I need to essentially start everything over because I have come to see in the new nobility culture and in Biella especially that she shares things, does things, behaves in ways, has psychologies, mindsets, understandings, philosophies, which I never conceived of. The moment I start to think I know even a little, I'm going to lose out in connecting to that which I don't know that I don't know. It's a very, very profound and sophisticated understanding from Biella. When you come as an aspirant and you essentially a teenager, which mostly they are, teenager, young adult, right? And you come to Nobelia, there is an implication you're still relatively young. And okay, we think of teenagers in that age as being very egotistical, but they're only so because they're insecure. When you come to Nobelia at that age, you are so overwhelmed. It is conclusively and absolutely thoroughly clear that you know nothing. And they're quite happy to accept this. Right? And in the preparation for being that, when you get, accepted as being an aspirant, you go through a couple of, you know, sharings from new nobles, which they prepare you for this culture shock which coming to Nobelia is. Yes. Now, for Ursula, she came as a delegate, all right? The culture shock was no less profound. Same for Camillus. I mean, put Camillus into a tailspin, yes, of a worldview collapse. But for the typical aspirant, they're a bit more prepared for it, and the resilience of youth, you accept that you know nothing. Okay, even if you might have been a bit, but if you were an egotistical youth and you were all caught up in superiority paradigm, it's very unlikely that you would be aspire to the moreness which Nobelia promised. So you wouldn't be an aspirant in the first place. And if you're an aspirant and you love learning and you love growing, you're also going to fully accept your own ignorance. And that's just part of it, right? And so when you come there, it's like, man, I've hit the jackpot in terms of learning. But the internal psychology of the typical aspirant is that, wow, this is why I'm here, because I know I don't know. But Ursula was a special case. She had success, lots of it. Was very successful in everything she did. So she had some legitimacy to say, I do know. Yeah. And that's why that sense of psychology was so important. All right. Now, this kind of relates here to lost, to being lost. Very, very profound heading there. Yeah. Yes. Ursula and Biella, they are awesome people. They are really, really awesome. And Ursula, especially, she's very relatable because Ursula is somebody who knows some stuff, but she set it aside. That's very difficult to do. It's very difficult to set aside your expertise. But Ursula had come to realize that her expertise meant nothing. And look at Camillus. He could not do that, did not want to do that, and caused him unending stress, trouble, right? Didn't want to set aside his expertise. Right? Again, he does know a lot, but he doesn't apply any of it. Made that one crucial extra step. Yeah, and it's a big problem. All right, please continue. Please continue.
Okay. Lost to being lost.
1 second, Beena. 1 second. 1 second.
Yes.
a second. I want to add that comment, that quote. I had it on my clipboard, but I want to add it in here because then it shows on the timeline as being added. Brilliant. All right. Lost to being the please continue.
Okay. Lost to being lost. Do you think there is a certain type of person more prone to latching on to conspiracy theory? Do you think that conspiracy theorists are more prone to have other proli- proclivities? No,
Proclivity.
proclivities, proclivities that are against the norm. If so, what? I would say
Say.
they. I would say they have proclivities which are more the norm. Unfortunately, conspiracy theories are simply the modern version of superstitions or myths and come about for many of the same reasons.
I'll read that again.
So,
I would say they
yes,
have proclivities which are more the norm. Unfortunately,
okay. I
conspiracies
would,
are,
yes,
yeah,
okay. Uh, I would say they have proclivities which are okay. No, I don't know how to emphasize on that. I would say
are
they
the norm.
have
Are more the
proclivities,
norm.
okay, which are more than norm. Unfortunately, conspiracy theories are simply the modern version of superstitions or myths and come about for many of the same reasons. So it's not really the exception. The difference is the legitimization of them and BS in general. In recent years, thus more are openly supporting them. It's
Yeah.
become okay to do so. Okay. I live in a town where seriously, I don't know anyone who does not believe in a conspiracy theory of some sort. It's just become culturally accepted here. Unfortunately, one of the proofs of veracity for the brain.
Yeah.
At least one of them is common acceptance. That's how it is here. People simply repeat and accept what they have seen around them.
It's a very serious point that
Yes.
Biella makes here. Yes, that the
Yes.
proof of legitimacy is common acceptance. If everyone believes it, it must be true.
Ah,
I want to actually add that in as a quote in here. And this is what leads to superstitions and myths, except we live in a different age. Simply because everybody believed it back in the day, there was no way to really disprove it. Yeah, but with the internet, there are ways to do it. Yeah? And it's changed things. It changed things. It's still early,
yes.
right? And it's still much that's commonly accepted, like in that town that Biala's talking about there. Yeah, I mean it is very literal. Me personally, I lived in that town too. That's where that comes from. Right? It's very
Yes.
powerful. This idea that if everybody believes it, it must be true. Yes, I mean it comes. We can understand that this comes from way back when. Well, if everybody's on the ice, it's thick enough to support me, and therefore it's safe. You see, you with me? If everybody eats the berry and they
Yes.
don't all die, well,
Yes.
then berry safe. You see where it comes from? There's a real
Yes.
reason for it, but of course, when it
Yes.
comes to beliefs, it's a different deal.
Hmm. Yeah. Yes.
It's nice to understand the root of this, right? That it's been extended to beliefs. It was based on sort of factual stuff. Well, if everybody believes the berry to be true and nobody actually is eating it, well, that doesn't make the berry safe. I'm sorry, is the berry to be safe? They just believe it. You see the difference here, right? They're actually eating it, but
Yes.
it's extended to beliefs. It's nice to really be aware of where these psychological ideas come from, right? Berries and ice
Yes.
and other things. Very helpful, very helpful, very helpful. Yeah.
Okay. If everyone believes it, it must be true. I actually do not believe in some conspiracy theory or other here is now the oddity. Much like not doing drugs or alcohol is in same places, is in some places. Okay. The psychology is actually much the same. It's a club of sorts, one where people feel comfortable with their indulgences, very much a psychology of avoiding complexity, much as that seems contrary with the belief in conspiracy theories. But that's because they are at not simple, but also are. No one can prove them either way, and that's great for this mindset. They want to avoid being proven wrong at all costs. So ambiguity is their friend. The commonality is a one-step mindset. Anything past one of thinking, step one of thinking, is too much effort and is feared for various reasons. Biella. Wow.
So again, and look at this. It's all because of the superiority paradigm. Putting a premium on this idea of being special, being superior, being dominant, and you can't be this. The superiority paradigm is impossible because it's telling you you've got to be the it in the world, king or queen of the world, emperor of the world. But of course, in reality, we can't all be that. So it's a psychology that is pushing you to be that one special thing, and everybody's trying to be that, and they can't be that. But it's saying you must be this, and if you aren't this special thing, then you rubbish, then you nothing, then you miserable, then you're unhappy. It's an
Uh-huh.
absurd, ridiculous psychology. It's just ridiculous. It's absurd. I mean, it's so ludicrous when you look at it, but yet we accept it. This is what we grow up to be, is believing this. And of course, when we can't succeed, then you've got to find other ways. Of course, most people at some point realize this whole ego nonsense is nonsense, and they just give it up, right? But there
Yes.
are some get stuck in it because this is what you've been taught to do. So they find other ways to be king of the world or queen of the world. It's an amazing thing. It's an amazing thing. But also, a lot of lonely people and a lot of people that are just lost. You see, lost to being lost. They are lost, and they get lost to being lost, and they want acceptance. And this conspiracy theory gives them acceptance, like in that community that I was talking about, right? Not only are conspiracy theories rampant, but everybody does drugs too. If you don't, you're the exception. I think a lot of people do it just to fit in. Yeah. But again, it's people who are insecure who will push doing drugs. It's okay. Yeah, they feel a bit guilty about it. So they want you to come and join them because, well, if you also do it, then it makes it okay for them. You see? Same with the
Yes.
conspiracy theory. It's an amazing thing, this idea. If everyone believes it, it must be true. Same thing. If everyone does it, it must be okay. Same. Same thing. Right? Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
wow.
Everyone does it, it must be okay.
Okay, I have a question about
Yeah.
this conspiracy theory, because again, that is something really when you found that cool stuff. Yeah. Really cool thing. Everybody is talking. Okay, and of course very interesting because of the way they are constructed. Again, as Biala mentioned that, okay, of course you can't prove them wrong, you can't prove them right. But is there are some chances that, okay, something was there, of course, the truth, somewhere something was there. And of course, some people just build that story because of that lazy pattern of thinking. They didn't think it through to the end, and didn't try to really do thorough research about it, and just build or construct the story. The problem is that at the beginning, or at some point, there was something about it. And now
Correct.
people some started building that story. And and I feel that, okay, of course, the power of some sort of truth also makes it attractive
Yes.
for for
Yes.
for
Yes.
most people. Because if it is completely out of nowhere, of course there must be some, like like any other. I don't want to name anyone, because uh, the problem with the conspiracy theory is the philosophy of opposite. If you are not convinced with their idea, you must belong to the other side, and the other side is
Exactly.
always against her.
In other words, it's a
Like,
manipulation.
exactly, exactly.
When
And
we
there are many.
realize
Yes,
conspiracy theories are a manipulation, then it all changes. And yes, Norma
exactly.
says, okay, for children, but they have problems getting over it as they go through teens. Yes, because the culture is telling you that this is what you must do and should do. So as a good person, you do what you should do. That's what defines goodness. But when should has become corrupted, it's a big problem. Carry on, Beena. I'll say again.
There were many stories as a child I was listening to from my grandparents, like, okay, my granny and uncles and aunties, and they would keep telling, and it was okay. Of course, my mind was accepting some, but as a curious mind, I was asking questions, and then asking questions was like, okay, no, you are questioning it. Asking question and questioning was the same for it is still same for many people. So they
Yeah.
were like, okay, oh, so you are questioning. And and the problem was that in some stories there was some religious connectivity also. And
Yes.
oh, now, okay, so if you are not accepting it without asking any question, then your faith is not intact. You are not this or that and
Correct.
all these things.
Correct. Correct.
My
Correct.
question is that because today, nowadays, in this world, the situation is very sensitive, really, really super sensitive. Even talking about something is really risky, not only because that it might I might get in trouble, but also because it might hurt many people, because they strongly believe in such things. Like, if you say something, you will be immediately labeled as that you are against this or that.
Yes, yes. It's a manipulation of forcing agreement to a particular ideology, philosophy, belief system, etc.
Like, Sil, if I would say right now, just suppose, for example, I would say, Sil, what right now what you are doing is not right. Just suppose that, okay, whatever it is,
Yeah.
and it is not right. This is not appropriate, and in response you would say, oh, so you are anti-impeccability.
Anti
Like,
what?
serious?
Anti what?
Anti-impeccability. Impeccability.
Oh, right.
Like, seriously? I'm talking about your one specific act, and you are labeling me as anti something. That is the problem. And again, as the glimmer, or this slightest yeah, this the subtle ray of hope is that people are or will become aware of it as access. So that, okay, when they will push too much of it, and then people will start actually questioning it. Not limited to, again, not just one thing. It is everywhere, everywhere. My question was, as I was just trying to give you that some idea what I was thinking, that in this situation right now where things are so sensitive, and also that so many things and stories are coming on surface, which were like, okay, oh, not accepted before, like the AI is now, or robots in or aliens in human form. There were a lot of conspiracy theories about them. They just changed it and then added up a lot of things into that. But aliens or robots or AI in more being more active in our mundane life was at some point a conspiracy theory. It sounded like, because people added so many flavors to it. But now they are proving it right. See, they were telling us. See what they were doing. How to deal with this thing.
You see the payoff for them, right? See, I'm right. I'm clever.
Yes. Yes.
Always look at the payoff. Always look at the payoff. I want to understand, look at the payoff. Yes? And also, Beena, what did you say? What you've been describing is
Yes.
the mentality of opposite or opposites. A
Yes.
mentality of opposites, which is different to philosophy of opposite. The mentality of opposite is if it's not right, it must be wrong. Yes?
Ah, yes. Yes.
And one second. And key in that is that must be. Yes? That's why in those
Yes.
quotes, I emphasize must. Yeah? If it's not right, it must be wrong. If it's not black, it must be white. I've heard this. I've heard this. Yeah.
Ah,
Because but where's all the colors? The obviousness of that being so obviously not true is astonishing. Just because most of the time things have opposites doesn't mean they always do. And that's the problem, right? It's this not really thought through thinking. It's a big problem. Also, with conspiracy theories, look at back in the day, right? They had myths. Where did myths come from? They came from storytellers, essentially, right? And you came up
ah,
and you told this fantastically wild story. You had status. Storytellers had profound status, bards, etc., right? Poets, all of them all had big status. In ancient Greece, right? In that golden age of Greece, right? With being a poet was like the highest aspiration. Homer, which we may today call a novelist, was seen as a poet. Yes,
ah,
because he wrote it in a I mean, he's considered the ultimate poet in that time, and to be a poet was the ultimate. Not a playwright or poet. This was the biggest deal. However, in our day today, in the modern age, even before now, we're going back now a few centuries already with publishing, right? Poets were a dime a dozen. I mean, there's plenty poets, yes. Even back in the day, sort of golden age of poetry with Keats and Yeats and Shelley and Byron, etc., right? And Milton and
yes.
all of that. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, they were quite special in the time, but it wasn't anything new. They were just published and people could have access to them and the masses could have, right? I mean, in the beginning of publishing, the printed books weren't that readily available. It took quite a long time before the populace got their hands on it. But so, in other words, being a poet gradually got diminished. Come our time now, poetry's everywhere. Novelists are everywhere. You're not special as a storyteller. But if you come and say, wait a second, I got this really wild, crazy story, and it's actually true. And I'm pointing out something which, if you accept this, it's like, man, it's going to change society. In other words, you're saying something valuable. Yeah, some of those conspiracy theories did turn out to be valuable. And this is the conundrum with conspiracy theories. It's not all of them are bogus. Some actually do turn out to be true. But that's the allure. Because you can't prove what I'm saying is nonsense, now I've got specialness. I'm not special. Right? I'm that same person who made up the myths and the superstitions. I'm making up the modern myth, the modern superstition. Same underlying logic, right? A way to be
Yes.
special. But they do
Yes.
serve a value. Like I said, they do serve a value, which is really interesting.
Yes.
Easier to write than say, yes, yes, no more. And again, too, which is nice with poetry. because poetry sort of gone a bit down. I think poetry starting to come up a little bit again, yeah, in terms of value, because it's so much. The mass of it, and people say, "Well, come on, if you want to really be a poet, then write some good poetry and mean it. Not Don't write poetry to look clever. Write poetry that shares your feelings. You can. I know a poet who does this. They share what they really feeling. They write earnest poetry, real poetry. Yes, it's very simple. Just go
Yes.
look at Norma's page. You'll see plenty poems like that. Yes. So this
Yes.
is being real is the premium, not being clever. Norma's poetry is really awesome because it's real. She feels something really strongly and she puts it into a poem. That's poetry. That's real poetry. Most poets are trying to be clever and sound clever. You know, plenty of people sounding clever. It's all over the show. It's no different to conspiracy theories. It's not real. It's hollow. It's
Yes.
bogus.
Yes.
So write real poetry, people. Write your heart, like Norma. Write your heart. You don't have
Yes.
to have fancy in this. I mean, not that it isn't fancy, but Norma's poetry is. It's not like if you go and look at some of the poetry where they're using lots of big words and very cleverness and very clever rhyme and oh man, you can get really, really sucked into the poetry cleverness, and then the poem loses all its value. Right, sometimes you can appreciate cleverness simply for cleverness, and that's also fun. Right? But again, it's one part of many. To me, the issue is joy and realness. It's more lasting than cleverness. Clever poem, you see it, you like it, okay, cool. But real poem that somebody's sharing what they really feel, those stay with you. See? So they have lasting value. There's cleverness, it comes and it goes. It's fun to see, but it doesn't stay with you. All right. On that wonderful note, we'll end today. A little shorter. I mean,
Yes.
another
Yes.
chapter I thought of reading, but we have things to
Yes.
do, and the time is
Yes.
so we'll do that. Thank you, Norma. Thank you, Norma, for being
Thank you,
here.
Norma.
Poetry, Norma. Your poetry is great. As is
Yes.
Venus poetry too. You know, it's coming. It's coming. I think probably going to be book 6. I'm still debating whether or not to, because I'm going to publish a book of my poems and Venus poems. And I'm thinking I'm going to
Yes.
call it. Well, I was always thinking to call it real poems, but I wasn't sure to publish it in the realism series. But I think so. Yeah, Beena.
Yes. You'll
So
see.
it's likely book
Yes.
6 of the realism series.
Yes. Yes.
It's different.
Okay, everyone. Thank you so much. Whoever is watching us live and will watch us recorded, please do subscribe to the channel and please like, comment, and share also because you are going to set algorithm for the future generations that what type of content you want to see and you want to show and share with others. This is something very important because virtual or online life is no more just part of your life, it is your life. So please pay
It's your
attention and
paradigm, and you are changing your paradigm. That's
exactly. So please do pay attention, not because of any vanity or anything or any commercial reasons, but please, whatever you prefer to have more in your life, do click like and subscribe and of course pay attention.
change your
Thank you so
paradigm.
much.
Change your paradigm.
Yes, change your paradigm. See you guys tomorrow with some moreness.
Bye bye. Bye
Bye
bye.
bye.
Bye. See you soon. Bye everybody.